Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making some herbal blends that I can put in my purse and in my go bag. So I wanted to give you some ideas of what you can do. These are going to be medicinal herbal blends, so that you have a few things on hand as an option that will be more natural than carrying some Tylenol, Advil, or any other types of things that, you know, and I do have some of those things in my purse and bug out bag, but I figured it was time. I finally got an idea that I can put together some easy carry, lightweight blends that can work in an emergency situation if you're out and about. You know, you're out of town or you're on the road or whatever and something happens. I'm going to be making a total of 3 different blends, but I want to give you several different options. So my 3 different blends are going to be, one is going to be specifically for pain, another is going to be specifically for topical wound care, and then the other one is going to be for stomach ailments, digestion, and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is the one for the topical wound care. And today what I'm going to be using is plantain, this is all from my garden, comfrey, and yarrow. Now I'm going to give you a couple other recommendations, but what you make, how you blend it, and your ratios is going to be up to you and your own personal research. I recommend, like I always do, that you get a good, at least one good medicinal herb book. And the one I always recommend first is Amy Fuel's book, which I'll have linked down below. And I have several other books. I'll try to remember to get all the links in there so you can look at them. But Amy Fuel's I put at the top of the list. Now a couple other options would be for this blend would be to add dandelion, some dried dandelion flowers, maybe even some calendula flowers, some turmeric powder. Just keep in mind that the turmeric may stain clothing. Or even go right to making it into a paste using some manuka honey. So blending these herbs in with the manuka honey at first, and then you'll already have it as a poultice ready to go on. I'm debating back and forth whether or not I'm going to do this. I might do both. I might do one, like have 2 different varieties, one with the manuka honey in it, and then one just the plain dried herbs. What you would do with the plain dried herbs is then you should have some water with you, because that should be one of your top preps that you have with you at all times, is some bottled water. And you would blend that with some water, or in a real tight pinch, if you don't have water, you can always masticate it and wet it down with your own saliva. That's not going to be the most ideal depending on the wound and whose it is, but it's better than nothing. But if you mix it in with your manuka honey, then it's ready to go as is. So this is going to be highly recommended. Again, I still haven't decided. I just might do one of each. So I will link to this one below. This is the best price, even compared to the one I seen on Costco online, that I don't even think has quite a great K factor to it. This is K factor 16, and you can get this through Subscribe and save even more, because manuka honey is very expensive. It's a very special honey. We only stock up on it specifically for things like this. But anyway, I will link to this one below if you like to buy on Amazon. That will be our affiliate link. So remember, anything you buy through our Amazon links does help us a little bit. But if you happen to be able to find something like this cheaper elsewhere, then please do so. Let's get this wound care one taken care of. So I'm just going to go ahead and start off with a dry blend, and then I might go ahead and talk about, you know, make the one with the honey. So what I'm doing is equal parts comfrey, plantain, putting it here in my coffee grinder. This is not actually my coffee grinder, it is a coffee grinder. It's the one I reserve specifically for doing everything but coffee, so my coffee grinder can stay solely for coffee. And then a big pinch of yarrow. So I'm trying to do roughly equal parts. Again, do your own research on any of these herbs, and I do have videos out on most of these. I don't think I have one out yet on comfrey or on plantain, but I do on dandelion, on yarrow, and some of the other herbs I'll be talking about. So anyway, what I'm going to do, I could just leave this as is, but because of the way these are going to be used, I want to go ahead and powder them up. I think that would just be better. So that's what the coffee grinder is for. So let me get these powdered up. Now see that? Look at how much smaller it is now that it's been powdered up. It's taking a lot less room. Now the reason I don't powder them up initially is a lot of times I'm using these to make tinctures. I prefer, if I'm making tinctures or extracts, that they are, you know, any of my herbs are more in a leaf form, a kind of a crumbled loose leaf form, so that they're easier to strain out when I'm ready to use them. So then I have this little piece of paper here because my plan was to dump the powdered herbs onto the paper because a funnel is not going to work very good for this particular application. Okay, so I got my bag all opened up, and what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to roll these herbs up the other way, lengthwise, and then dump them in like that. Okay, I had to dump some out because I had it too full and I couldn't close it, because you're going to want to make sure you push as much air out of it as you can and then seal it up good. And then, like I said before, if you want to just take like a flat iron and go ahead and seal that, I'm not going to bother with that, but you can if you want. I'm just going to leave it because I'm going to plan on refilling these if they ever need to be used again. So let me get another bag made up so I can put the rest of this into a second bag. I want to actually make several of each of these. I'm going to put one in each of my different bags that I have. And then I also am going to make some for Patrick's bag. So I'm only doing a couple right now, but I'll be making several more of each of these different blends. So the paper method is working quite well to fill these bags, and there we go. Okay, so that seemed to be that right there that I put in there. You saw the pinch. I would say that was probably a couple tablespoons of each that I put in there of the loose herbs. And so now I've got a couple of the wound care ones ready. So let's move on to the pain. I'm going to kind of wipe this out. I'm not worried about washing it. I certainly don't want to get it wet. And because any of these herbs are safe to take internally, I'm not concerned about there being a little bit of the powder mixed in with my pain blend. Okay, so for this, I'm going to be using catnip. I'm actually going to be mixing 4 together for this one. Echinacea, feverfew, valerian flowers and leaves, because yes, the flowers and leaves in the valerian are also pretty potent. Not as potent as the roots, but still pretty potent. And I don't have any root dug up yet from my own. I have some roots that I bought, and you can purchase a lot of these. You can go to Amazon and look at the Star West brand or the Frontier brand. Those are the two that I'm most likely to purchase. So again, I'm going to do a pinch of each. Now, one of the things I have to say about the valerian is the reason, and the same applies to the catnip, the reason these two are good for pain is because they have sedative properties. And so they also help with muscle relaxation, the valerian in particular. And so those are some really great ways that it helps. Now, I can tell in here, you see the purple flowers? I use the leaves and the flowers in the catnip. Both are good. Usually you'll see mostly I'll have leaves, but when I have a bunch of flowers coming in, I'll go ahead and dehydrate those up too. So again, I'm going for roughly equal amounts. Now here's the thing you should know about feverfew if you haven't tried it yet. Feverfew is extremely bitter, but it is one of the most effective for pain. In fact, just smelling this dried herb has a very strong kind of bitter smell. And that's about what it tastes like. It's not pleasant. But that's why I like coming up with blends where I can mix it with other things that will help break up that bitterness. It does still overpower everything. In fact, I considered making this particular blend without the feverfew, but because feverfew is very effective for all kinds of pain, I do want to make sure I get that in there. And then echinacea is also another good one. And then, of course, the benefit of having something like, you know, taking these as well is that, and you can see in here, this also has the flowers and the leaves. So, and you can use the echinacea root as well. I'm just focusing on the greens here. So let me powder this up and we'll get this bagged up as well. There we go. There's my pain blend. So let's go ahead and pour that out on my paper. Got to make sure, I should just pour out half of the herbs at a time when I'm doing this. Again, make sure you don't get it too full because you want to be able to zip lock that. Making sure you get as much of that air out as you can. And let's do the other one and then we'll move on to the next blend. So the thing is, I'm just giving you some ideas of what you can use, herbs you can use for these various blends. But again, what you use is entirely up to you. It's going to depend on what you're sensitive to. what your allergies are, what you already have growing either wild or in your garden. All of the herbs I'm using in here I have grown in my own garden. So I like to stick with those because that's what I have already. But also knowing what you can find out in the wild to help with pain is because there's plenty of herbs that grow in the wild. People talk about wild lettuce a lot, which I've never used and I have no intention to, but if I had to in a pinch, it's there. You do have to be careful with it though, because it can cause some digestive problems. Okay, so there we go. I've got 2 bags right now of the paint. So now I know, just by doing that, I know how much I can mix at a time and how many bags I can fill. I'm looking at my wound care ones. I'll probably equal these out. This one here is far more full than that one, but I got my pain ones pretty even. Oh, and I was going to mention the echinacea. You know, we know that echinacea is also an immune booster. It's not going to help cure a cold or a flu, but it will help boost your immunities, which when you're in any of these situations that these might come in handy, it might be a good idea to keep your immunities built up. So not only is this good for pain, this will also help to fight anything that you might come across while you're in whatever situation you're in. Okay, so the 2 herbs that I'm growing that I'm going to use in this particular blend is my mint tea blend. This particular one is an older blend, so it actually does have some yarrow, but yarrow is also very good all the way around, and it's helpful from the inside out. And it's also helpful to help you relax and get sleep if needed, but it's not going to make you drowsy. Valerian doesn't make you drowsy either. And while I'm at it, feverfew is also very good for your digestion because it's a bitter herb. It will also help with digestion, but for this one, I want something that's going to taste a little bit better. I'm going to talk in a bit just how you would use these. So I'm going to put a little bit bigger pinches since I'm using only these 2 herbs, but I'm going to add one more ingredient to it while I'm at it. So, and then the other one I didn't mention yet is the marshmallow leaves and flowers. Again, marshmallow root is good too, but since I'm trying to make a powder, it's much easier to make a powder out of the leaves and flowers than it is out of the roots. And then the other thing you can consider adding to this is ginger. Very, very good for the digestion and the stomach. And again, this is just a few of the herbs that you can use. Do some research into digestive, you know, herbs that are good for digestion, for nausea and stuff like that, and then come up with your own combination. So I'm putting about a tablespoon of the ginger in there. So I'm going to get this powdered up. Again, paying attention to not get too much in there at a time. You want to make sure you can close that bag. This one here actually smells really good. Okay, and there's the second one of that one. And then I have a whole pile of them. I can't remember. I think it's 50 that I got. And I'll go ahead and link to these below. I'm actually, now that I'm working with them, I'm really liking the size. I think they're going to be perfect. Initially, I was thinking something a little bit bigger, but I think this whole thing, some of these might be good enough for a couple of uses actually per bag. But having a whole bunch of separate ones and keep, you know, I think is a good idea. All right, so now that I've got my different little packs made up, let's talk about how you can use these. I covered it a little bit earlier, but again, if you decide to make your wound care with the Manuka honey, it's pretty much ready to go. So if you have a cut, scratch, scrape, or anything like that, you can just apply it directly to the wound as is. If you don't mix it with the honey and you're keeping it dry like this, then you're going to either need to mix it with water. If you have some colloidal silver on hand, because maybe you pack a little bit of that, that would also be an excellent option because the colloidal silver is going to have some antibacterial properties in it as well. In fact, I actually, in our water bottles that I keep in our rigs, I always have a little bit of colloidal silver in each water bottle, so I feel pretty good about that. But that's also to help keep the water fresh, and it works great doing that. But anyway, or again, in a pinch, you may just have to put it in your mouth and chew it up and then stick it on the wound that way. So that's the intention there. Now, as far as the one for pain or the one for digestion, either of these could be mixed into like a tea. The pain one is not going to taste good as a tea if you decide to add the feverfew to it. It's going to be very bitter. What I would do is I would mix this with just a little tiny bit of water and just suck it down as fast as I could so I don't have to prolong the flavor. But if you can make up a tea, and this doesn't mean it has to be hot because you might not be, maybe you don't have a little stove with you or any way to heat it up, but For the one for the stomach, this is why I was trying to make this one taste good. This could be something you could just put directly into your water bottle and then just kind of sip on it. I would try to let it steep. It's going to be a cold infusion, but that's fine as long as you're getting these herbs into you. This is going to be very helpful. But again, you know, even if you don't want, you could do it the same way as the pain. You could just make it into a little paste and then just chew it up and eat it. Whatever is going to work best for you, or maybe your water supply is very limited. So it's just going to be dependent on what you have on hand, what you think you can handle. So let's come back to this pain one again. If you can't handle bitter, then you may want to consider trying some other blends or just sticking to the other 3 that I used. Though, you know, valerian is pretty powerful. And yes, because of its sedative properties, it does really help with pain. And also, the other thing to know is the feverfew is also really good for inflammation as well. Okay, well, I decided I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit, since I had that one bag of the wound care that was pretty full. I went ahead and dumped it in this little cup here, and I'm going to go ahead and mix some Manuka honey in with it so I can see how well this mixes. And the more I think about it, the more I think this would be the best thing, because I don't know, I still thinking of doing one of each because it's going to depend on the situation. But this looks like it will mix in quite well. It's not it's runny enough that I shouldn't have to warm it at all, because it's really important that you keep your honey raw or it's going to lose all those beneficial properties. Look at there. Oh, that's just lovely. I think that's going to be perfect. Now getting it into the bag is going to be the trick. Okay, we're going to go ahead and try putting this in the bag, so let's see how hard this is to do. I'm going to use this little silicone spatula. I think it's going to be hard to do this without making a mess. This is one of those things I think would be really good to put it in the bag if you have a big syringe. I keep meaning to get myself one of those big syringes with a wide opening, so that you can, that would be excellent choice than doing this. It would be a lot less messy as far as getting it into the bag goes. And you can, that way you can bypass that Ziploc so you don't have to worry about the mess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the zipper on this so that I can close this up. Okay, so I got the bag filled, I got the Ziploc cleaned up and then sealed really good, and then after I sealed it, I went ahead and washed it good all the way around and dried it. This is one of the ones you're going to have to, though I think this is a great replacement for the antibiotic cream. You definitely going to want to be careful where you put this in your bags, because you don't want it to get punctured. It's going to get messy. Of course, you don't want any of your bags to get punctured, but especially this one. So I think this is a really great option, and I may actually just go ahead and do all of them this way with the honey. I may still keep one dry just in case I don't want the honey. But as far as just something I can use immediately out of there and don't have to worry about mixing with water, I think that's going to be a really good option. And again, this is just a jumping off point. This is just to give you some ideas. So whatever it is you choose to do, whatever kind of herbs you want to use for any of these things, you need to tailor it to suit you and your needs, depending on whether or not you're on medication, whether or not you have children, grandchildren that you're thinking of giving this to, whether or not you are pregnant or someone that you're going to give it to is pregnant, because there are several herbs that pregnant women should not take, and one of those being the feverfew, because feverfew can cause the uterus to contract. So that if you've got any pregnant people you're considering giving that to, that's something you'll definitely want to stay away from. So take all these different things into consideration and do the research for yourself, because I can't give you all of the information in a brief video on all the different herbs and what you can and cannot have, because there's an innumerable amount of herbs and different health issues that you all may be dealing with. I can't talk about it all here, so you have to learn for yourself how to research these different things. It's as simple as going to your browser and specifically putting in best herbs for pregnant women for pain, best herbs for stomach ailments for children, and so on and so forth. Whatever the search criteria is, be very specific on it so that you can narrow those pages down that you start researching through. And don't forget to keep cross-referencing your pages. Don't just trust one. source. Look at all of them. And even though I don't trust WebMD entirely, they can still have some good information, but please do not put all your trust in them. They can have some good information from one side where you can go to another page that focuses more on alternative medicine or natural remedies, and then compare the two and so on. I think that's important to do, even though a lot of what WebMD pushes I don't agree with. They still have some good information. You just have to learn how to weed it all out. But the same goes with the natural remedies. You may go to somebody's page, that somebody like me that likes to make their own blends, and try to follow them, and maybe that works for them, but maybe it's not something that will work for you. So you got to take everything into consideration. Again, these are the things that work for us, and that is why I do this, and it's things I already grow, most of it anyway. And so again, it's got to be completely tailored to you. This is just to mostly give you some ideas of what you can do. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. And if you have any suggestions or favorite herbs that you like to use for any of these things, or anything else that you may consider blending up to put in your bag, go ahead and put that down below so we can learn from you too. All right, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.